turkey, stuffing, green bean casserole, sweet potatoes with sticky marshmallows or candied praline nuts, mashed potatoes, cranberry relish, rolls, cheesy rice casserole. Having had our fill yesterday, there is a bounty of delicious leftovers packed into chilling refrigerators today. Whether wrapped in saran or foil, Tupperware or jars, there is something incredibly homey about leftovers. We're blessed to celebrate Thanksgiving with friends at their home each year. One casualty of the experience is that there are no leftovers to chew on late at night or for breakfast the next day. This is sometimes considered so problematic by one member of the Silk household that it often warrants our own homemade feast of Thanksgiving food over the weekend. And of course, enough leftovers made to ensure another couple days. So with a show of hands, raise your hand if you love leftovers. Nice, hands down. Raise your hand if you hate leftovers. Nice, okay, brave. And raise your hand if you could take them or leave them. All right. Love them or hate them, we are firmly in leftover season. There are pop-up leftover-based recipes on Facebook and the internet, soups with picked-over turkey carcasses simmering away on stovetops near and far. True leftover experts can transform delicious victuals into culinary masterpieces that are beyond leftover recognition for sure. It seems to me that the leftovers are a hotbed of potentiality, a breeding ground for creative expression and master manipulation without boundaries. And while tonight conjures up thoughts of the next turkey delicacy or cranberry surprise, I think this message can inspire us beyond our kitchens and the feasting table. In next week's Torah portion, we're going to read about Jacob and his famous dream and the angels going up and down the ladder as he slept with his head upon a rock. Dreaming is how our brains handle and process the leftovers of our life, the unfinished business of our days, our interactions, our worries. It is in his dream that Jacob, fleeing from his brother on account of his stealing the birthright, comes to the realization that God is present all around him, and he is then inspired to make an offering to the Lord at an altar he constructs using the very rock he rested upon. This year is typically characterized by generosity and thoughtfulness. In sync with that, many of us make year-end donations to organizations with funds and supplies. Goodwill and Salvation Army collects more donations at this time of year than any other time. We ourselves clear out and purge in November and December, as it often is a period when we have time around the house to get some projects done. Handling those leftovers, clothing and toys too little for the kids, and invariably things that we've outgrown, and the stuff we find projects and crafts once done, at one point put aside, and then that gets taken up again, refreshed, and maybe reinvigorated. The latch hook activity or a needlepoint project, the painting or modeling. For some, it's resuming a scrapbook or a family tree, or even picking up a musical instrument that's been lying around. These kinds of leftovers, these remnants of those once vibrantly used and played with, have a power and potential that lie waiting for us. Consider for a moment a craft or hobby, an activity or volunteer commitment that you put down or pressed pause on. Something that has lasting leftovers, something that when picked up again or started has the power to add blessing to your life. It could be joy or relaxation, stimulation, community, or even health. And leftovers certainly are more than just food or objects or activities. In emotion, too, we carry leftovers. The power of pictures that captured a simcha, the pictures that can put a smile on our face as we bask in the leftover joy of the moments that were. How stunning they looked under the chuppah, the sweetness of that newborn face, the pride that glowed in their eyes at the bar or bat mitzvah, keepsakes and letters that can take us back to a point in time, to a relationship, to a feeling. These leftover emotions can be a healing salve on a broken and sad soul, offering warmth to a lonely spirit and reassurance to an anxious self. They, like the turkey and stuffing, can nourish us even after the guests have returned home and the good dishes have gone back into the cabinet. Theirs, though unique in their lasting power. But even for those of us who do love leftovers, leftovers aren't always a good thing. Consider the deep sadness and hurt so many are experiencing in our country and our world. Leftover feelings of exclusion, inequity, anger, resentment, and desperation that are bubbling over, creating devastating schism and further pain and anger. In our own personal lives, this season, so traditionally full of family and friends, can be painful for those of us with leftover grief and hostility. It can hit us like a ton of bricks during a time that's supposed to be joyful, fun, and celebratory. Lingering negative emotions can be the root of anxieties and can be debilitating, even paralyzing, limiting the goodness we experience in our lives. These unwelcome remnants, too often left over due to our incomplete work on processing pain and sadness that we encounter along life's journey, it is with these leftovers that we need help and support to process, to work through, and ultimately to heal and get rid of. This Shabbat, the one I have often referred to as Thanksgiving Shabbat, is one where we reflect on what we have to be thankful for and the importance of being thankful in our lives. It can also be called Leftover Shabbat, the granddaddy of all leftover days. On this day, we can be intentional about leftovers and how powerful they can be. Yes, of course, the feast foods we enjoyed yesterday around the table, but more importantly, those things, the habits, hobbies, and activities that we can reclaim to add more meaning, belonging, connection, and satisfaction to our lives. Those leftovers that we've been hanging on to that maybe could go to better use when we share them. Clothing, furnishings, and other items that we don't use any longer, but we allow to remain stagnant and clutter our homes. And the emotional leftovers that call us out in need of healthy intervention and ultimately closure, freeing us up, letting us to be open to the blessings and goodness of the world. Oh God, on this Shabbat, inspire us to recognize the power that is in those things left over in our lives. Help us to claim more actively the opportunities that can enrich our lives, that can add goodness to our days, and give us the strength and courage to let go of those things that keep us from enjoying the fullness of your bounty and blessing that surrounds us. Shabbat Shalom.